Good afternoon. How is everybody doing out there? It's 2 p.m. Friday, so you're probably expecting to see Greg Roberts in the Torn in Two Political Show. Well, I'm not Greg Roberts. Greg is on vacation today, so we have allowed him to take a vacation. I am Melvin Burns, and I'm going to be hosting the show with my friend. We call him the Professor, David Taki Taki. David, how are you?
I am wonderful, Melvin. It's great to be here. It's great to give Greg the day off. I know he's a hardworking guy and deserves, some from time to time. But the opportunity to be here and to continue the streak of your political show.
If Greg brings us back nice gifts, I may relinquish it when he returns.
Right. Yes. For a price, we'll give it back. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, good. Well, I know you guys have been following the election, the post-election, the lawsuits, the court cases. We're going to take a little bit of a turn today. We're going to bring our election show, our political show home. We're going to talk about local politics, and we have two amazing guests with us today. Our first guest I want to introduce to you, I do call him friend. We've known each other for over 50 years. He is the mayor of the city of Muskegon Heights. It's Mayor Walter Watt. Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor.
Good afternoon, Mr. Burns and Mr. David. Thank you for having me on here. I just want to give a lot of feedback. First of all, I didn't hear all of your introduction, but I thank you for allowing me the opportunity to be on your show and to discuss some of the things that we are doing in Muskegon Heights, things planned, and all of the challenges and issues that we face and where we're headed. So I thank you, and I think Councilwoman Fox might be on as well. Mayor Pro Tem Fox.
I'm going to bring her on.
Should be
but
on
we're
as well.
glad to have you with us, Mr. Mayor. Our second guest will also be part of the discussion afternoon is Ms. Tamika Sane Fox. She is the Mayor Pro Tem of the city of Muskegon Heights. Can I say Ms. Sane Fox or Ms. Fox? It's good to have you with us this afternoon.
Good afternoon. It's good to be here. Thank you for having both the mayor and I this afternoon.
Good. It's good to have you both.
Mr. Taki, how are you?
I am wonderful, Councilwoman. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Let's see. Councilwoman Fox, now you have been on council about a year now?
1 year, exactly. Yes.
Okay. Well, let's kind of start there. You were a private citizen.
Yes, I am.
And then all of a sudden you got put in the fishbowl. So
all of a sudden I got had a conversation with the mayor, and then all of a sudden it was the fishbowl. Yes.
yeah. Now, had you thought about public office before this opportunity came up?
No, not necessarily. This is not my realm. Well, was not my realm. I am in human resources for one of the major manufacturers in Muskegon. So more of the business aspect for me in partnership with what I do. And I think that was one of the things that the mayor saw and wanted to invite to council.
Well, that's good. Ambition is not always a good thing for an elected official. So tell us a little bit, your first year, going from being a private citizen to now serving on council. Tell us a little bit about what things did you really have no idea about that have kind of surprised you in this first year?
One of the things that surprised me is conversations that I've had with other citizens and myself. And I would always say, why do we have to do this? Why is this going on? Why? It was a bunch of whys until I got that wonderful thing called the charter for the city.
Okay.
And I started reading that charter and then understanding the whys to what we do in the city and why it's important to honor those and make sure that we're using those the way that they should and understand those as a citizen, because there's a lot of whys. And I think in public office, we don't necessarily explain the why behind what we do. And that's one of the things we need to start doing so that citizens like myself understand why we're doing what we're doing, when and how we're doing it.
Okay.
And then it begins to make sense.
Okay. And David, feel
Councilwoman,
free to
yeah,
jump in.
I've got a couple of questions. One of the things that always intrigues me and my students and the people in the community about people who do exactly what you've done, made the transition from private life into public life, is the origin story, because this is something you could have said no to. Right? It's not something you have to do. It's something you could reasonably stop doing at almost any time. But you've taken it on yourself to step up into this role and help serve the community. What motivation do you have to do this, to take this on?
Well, in my over 40 years, I'm not going to say which side of the 40 I'm on, but I am born and raised Muskegon Heights. Education, Muskegon Heights, all the way through. I went to college in Muskegon, and so I value Muskegon Heights. I value what it was, I value what it is now, and what it can be. And I think that we are working towards that. It's going to take some time. But if you understand Muskegon Heights and the values that we have, then you understand how to help move this city forward.
Fantastic.
Mr. Mayor, you see you're back with us?
Yeah,
Okay, we got a ton of feedback, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, I know. And if you could, maybe question the chat, and I can catch the full question while I'm trying to answer it. But right now, I'm getting a tremendous amount of feedback.
Sure.
Okay.
Unfortunately, those kind of technical issues can arise when we're kind of flying with the seat of our pants and having four of us on here at once. I think for the moment, I'm going to ask the councilwoman another couple questions. So, when you came into your first session of council, you mentioned the charter, right? Just wrapping your head around the legal details and all of the hoops that people have to jump through. Given the experience you've had now, and knowing that most of the people who are listening to us aren't going to be deeply familiar with that charter, what are a couple of the surprises you've encountered in your first year that you could help our listeners understand what it really means to serve the community in this fashion?
Well, I think what it means to serve this community along with the charter is to actually know it. There's a lot of community citizens that don't even know we have one or have never looked at it, or they may have seen it but haven't read it in totality, right? I've read it a couple times and had to ask a few questions. And I'll give you an example. You know, I got a question the other day, why am I getting a ticket for parking in my own yard? And I said, it is part of the charter. It's an ordinance. So in other municipalities, they are following those ordinances that are made public and they're knowledgeable about those. And for some reason, it's escaped us. And so we need to bring those things back to the forefront so people understand we're not out to get you or anything like that, but there are things that you need to understand on the back end. And I was one of those citizens that I parked on my terrace as well. And I thought, if that's a thing, it's mine, I own it. That's
Right.
not a thing, you know. And so we often have conversations among ourselves and say, well, when we go to other areas, why does that area look this way and our area looks this way? It's because we're not adhering to what we've set in place many, many years ago. So I think there needs to be a conversation with citizens that's open to hearing that and following it, and then just pushing it forward because it's systemic. So once we stop doing it, and then over the years, it just continues in the reverse in a negative way.
And forgive the educator in me, Councilwoman, if you were a concerned citizen who wanted to get the opportunity to read and educate yourself about that charter, is that something they can request from you? Is it available on Muskegon Heights Council website? Where is that? Like, where can we find that piece of information?
City Hall. The first thing I would do is contact the city manager, and I'm sure administrative Ms. Jessie Franklin can get that, and the city clerk, Ms. Gibbs, can get that and have it ready. And if it's not on the website, I think it should be revamped anyway. It's just me, but it should be available for one to view and not have to physically go get it.
Okay.
Fantastic.
If we have you there, Mr. Mayor, I'll pose a question to see if you can hear me. But why don't you tell us what the transition's been like going from council member to mayor?
think we might have lost the mayor.
Okay, I think, yep.
Yep. Well, hopefully he'll be able to resolve his technical issues
Hopefully,
here.
yes.
Absolutely. While we have the councilwoman, my question to you would be, if we're looking at another year here coming up, we're making the transition into 2020. Obviously, there are a lot of national challenges that are facing our community. But you, as a member of this council and as representative here locally, obviously have a much more close connection to the people of the community and what's going on here. Setting aside the big national issues, what do you see coming up in 2021 as a priority for Muskegon Heights Council?
Oh, revenue. Definite revenue and partnerships, extending the partnerships. I see housing developments. There are the marijuana ordinances that are on the forefront. I look at downtown Muskegon and the way that they're moving forward with that. And I think Muskegon Heights we're on the brink of that, but it still needs to be pushed forward. In 2021, so we'll back up to 2020, basically all of 2020, we had to figure out how to work and how to move with COVID, right? So this is an opportunity for us to be aware of new ways to learn and do business and operate and create partnerships and move forward, because as I say, old way doesn't exist anymore. So.
Right. So you mentioned, of course, we shouldn't move on to 2021 quite just yet. We have a little bit of 2020 left to go. You've been working with the council during 2020, and I know, unfortunately, while the old adage "all politics is local" is important, frequently people do get caught up in those bigger headlines. So, what are some things that have happened over the course of this year, accomplishments from the council that you think that maybe the community should hear more about?
One of the accomplishments, I think, that the community may not know in totality is the saving of Muskegon Family Care. So Muskegon Family Care was one of those major intricacies of the city, and they were going away. And the mayor saw that, got together a coalition, and moved that forward quite swiftly and quite quickly, and saved actually that entity so that we can continue to serve the community at its best. Had that went away, we would have lost a major entity in the city. So I think that accomplishment alone was one of the greatest things that could have happened in 2020.
Yes, no, I actually, I remember using that facility myself for a time when I was living over on the 3300 block of Jefferson years ago, and it was nice to have that community asset there. It's very good that it's been something that's been able to be preserved. Can you tell us any more about the process, how that happened? Obviously, it was an initiative from the mayor. The council got involved. Just kind of pull the curtain back a little bit for our audience and kind of let us know how that happened.
So that would be a lot of detail from the mayor, but that was a couple calls that the mayor made too. I know one was Pastor Guy, Pastor Greer, couple of local pastors. And then one major name that came up was Mr. Oglesby. They made that call, and I think he heard that interview and said, I've got to do something. And then those connections were made, and then they moved forward. There were a lot of conversations that happened, of course, that I was not involved in at the time, being new council, but they're supporting that initial movement and saying, hey, I'm present, whatever we can do, whatever needs to be said and done at that particular moment. I was there, but that was a major goal for the mayor, and the mayor actually took that a hold and made sure that
Where's your speaker?
And walked through that process. So that's a good question.
Can you guys?
Yeah, it looks like we might have the mayor back. Mayor Watt, are you with us?
Yes, I am, and I have some serious technical difficulties here. I got on another phone here, so but Mayor Pro Tem did an excellent job of going over how that came about with family care, and in light of we found out about the process that it was going to be closing the week of that Tuesday prior to it closing. And we set up a meeting with the then acting CEO to myself and the city manager, and to see what we could do to help save that facility. And lo and behold, it was slated to close that following Monday. And we set things into motion to form a rally, and brought the council and the community and some of the employees, and got some of the media involved. And we set forth to let them know that this this facility is too important to our community for it to fail and close. And it was not the first medical facility that had financial troubles, and will not be the last. And its first option should not be to close, but rather to try and restructure and save it. And we set out and found Mr. Dan Oglesby, and he came forth and put forth his expertise to help save this facility, and a whole lot of other people that were in the background. Judge Pittman, Pastor Guy, these were intricate players in trying to save this facility. And lo and behold, when it looked like we were not going to be able to do it, that we saved the facility. And I just thank all of the council that got involved, from Mayor Pro Tem to all of the other council members in the community, and all those that came together to try to save this facility, because it didn't look good on that Saturday morning on that winter day.
Yeah, that was a good save, and I can think, which kind of leads to my next area with the health issues we face in our community. Having an extra facility certainly has been an asset and a good save for you all. Let's talk. Obviously, the big story this year has been COVID-19, and we know, again, we see the numbers every day. Can you all talk to us a little bit about how you've seen that affect the city operations, and what kind of things you've had to do at a city level to adjust to COVID-19?
Yeah, well, it affected us, number one, in a big way, like all other municipalities, from a tax revenue perspective. Businesses were not open, and we weren't able to get tax revenue in, and we had to adjust how our employees work. We had to make adjustments in City Hall, and we had to consider having some work from home and some working in the office. It was some difficult decisions that had to be made, and lo and behold, we've managed through it pretty well. We were able to provide over 8,000 boxes of fresh vegetables in collaboration with the Muskegon Heights Public Schools. And, I think the city manager and the city staff and the entire community did an excellent job, weathering that initial stage. However, we're in a stage now that is worse than what we were in before, and we're still having to adjust on the fly and make decisions that are best for the safety of this community on a daily basis. So it's an ongoing battle that we're fighting here, and hopefully the state legislature and the federal government will come in and get the stimulus bills passed so that we can benefit from whatever might be in there on the behalf for the cities across this country.
Have you all received any kind of estimates? And I know the state's put out some numbers about what the deficit will look like, but have you all heard any preliminary numbers about expecting revenue cuts for next year from the state?
I haven't heard of any as of yet. I haven't had that conversation with the city manager, and that's something that he updates us on a regular basis, but we haven't gotten any updates unless Mayor Pro Tem has had a chance to speak with him, and he's given us some updates, but I don't think we've had any updates from the state in terms of what increases might come our way, or decreases for that matter.
I haven't received any information or knowledge yet from the city manager. However, we do have council on Monday, and we do have a standing COVID update.
Okay.
So as things progress, we are updated on that. We're updated on the numbers for each municipality, and then we're updated on the numbers in our own community. And so at this point, as you stated, with the increase in numbers across the country, I think we'll be updated on funding and revenues and things like that. We'll need to add that for sure into the talks that happened on Monday.
Okay. Now, did you all pass any specific ordinances related to COVID? I know you all closed the City Hall building, correct? And did you all pass any specific ordinances for the city related to COVID?
Following state guidelines, especially with restaurants and businesses, making sure that they had the right capacity according to square footage of the building.
Okay.
Made sure that was enforced. What needed to be closed was closed. Mm-hmm. And then just to protect the citizens and employees at City Hall, we decided to close that building with prior notification, and then have something that mirrors the county building, that someone's there to make sure that they guide citizens and customers that come to the building, and then also institute ways to make payments via the city website. So I know that I pay like my water bill online now.
Okay.
And it's much easier. And so you minimize the risk. So I think that's the goal, is to minimize that risk as much as possible.
Okay.
And to add to that, more importantly, and we implemented a city state of emergency so that we could, get ahead of this. And we made some changes, we made some decisions, and they weren't popular, but we implemented a city state of emergency, and that allowed us to receive funding from the state and some other things that were very important that we did at that time.
Okay. Are there any issues in addition to COVID? Are there any issues you guys are tracking at the state legislature? I know the state's getting tied up in COVID and battles with the governor. Are there any other issues tracking at the state level, ordinance or legislative wise, that you guys are tracking at this time that might affect local government?
One thing that I'm tracking, and that the city manager, myself, and I think our entire city government is tracking, is the issue around the casinos, the approving of the casinos for Muskegon County. And hopefully that's progressing along in a positive way, because I think it will impact and benefit the entire area. However, we want to make sure that we have some guarantees and that can benefit the city of Muskegon Heights, that we need to be at the table having these discussions about. So we're tracking that at the state level to see where they're at with the approval, if they have the votes to get it done and get it through. If not, what can we do to help to get that through? Because this is very important for this area, very important for Muskegon Heights, and hopefully we can get all the players at the table so that we can have the discussions about how can Muskegon Heights benefit from this opportunity, because we know this. The county is going to benefit. Every city around here is going to benefit. And we want to make sure that we are getting what is best for Muskegon Heights in this potential green goal, so to speak.
Okay. I hadn't thought about casinos in a while.
That's one that I think we need to be ahead of instead of behind, because too often, we have been notified of things after the fact. Well, we want to get ahead of this thing and make sure that we are at the table. Our county representative is at the table representing the city of Muskegon Heights. We are at the table. Our state legislature understands and knows what our concerns are and what we want. How can we benefit, and what things we can bring to the table that can help benefit the casino as well. So if we're not at the table, we can't get those conversations and those details about how Muskegon Heights can help and how we can benefit.
Okay. David, you got anything? I don't want to monopolize the time here.
Well, I know that it's been, it was mentioned earlier in our conversation here, the work sessions and conversations around marijuana ordinances. Obviously, we're looking right now at some relatively unique action at the federal level, looking at possibly reclassifying the substance. Michigan itself has gone through several different levels of approval, and it seems like a good amount of the controversy at the state level was resolved in some ways by kind of kicking it down to the local level, right? And kind of trying to put the onus of decision-making onto local leaders. Talk to us a little bit about what that sounded like amongst your own deliberations, and where you think that particular industry may or may not have a future in the city of Muskegon Heights.
Well, recreational and medical marijuana has been a tough battle here in Muskegon Heights in terms of getting to the point where we're at of approval. And I think we've had many discussions, and we've had a lot of disagreements, and we've agreed on a lot. But the majority has agreed that we are a community that should have and will have recreational marijuana in our community. And quite honestly, as you know, it's a wave across the country of approval, and either we're going to get in the game, or we're going to sit back and watch and be consumers and not benefit from it. And I think the council has made a wise decision approving recreational and medical marijuana for the city of Muskegon Heights. And now we're just at the stage of selecting and making decisions about those that are best fit to help partner with our community and move it forward in a positive way. Buildings are being built all around us in this county. for recreational marijuana. And we can no longer afford to sit back and watch and say, "Oh, how beautiful that is." Well, I want a beautiful building being built in the city of Muskegon Heights as well, so that our citizens can benefit from the revenues that come from it, as well as the tax revenues that will help relieve some tax burdens on the citizens. So I don't know if Councilwoman might want to add to that, but she might want. I want to keep talking. Mayor Pro Tem, excuse me. I
made the same mistake earlier. My apologies, Mayor
Hey,
Pro Tem.
look, you don't want to make
No
that
problem.
mistake too many times with her. I'm gonna tell you that now.
No problem at all. We're here for one goal. So Mayor Pro Tem or Councilwoman, it's all the same for me. I agree with the mayor and all that he's saying. I think that revitalizing the city of Muskegon Heights, we have some beautiful buildings. We have beautiful structures that's already here, and revitalizing those and partnering with those to get those up and going. That whole thing just threw me off in the corner.
Understood.
To get them up and moving in a positive way so that we gain revenue from those is what I am looking to see. As he said, yes, we've had some, disagreements with council. I'm new to council. It's just my first year, and I know that they've been talking about that for quite some time previous to me coming on board. But I think that we're all on the same page as far as gaining revenue and moving the city forward and partnering in those businesses for medical and recreational marijuana. Because either we're going to sit at the table and be partners, or we're going to be behind.
Okay. All right. Let me ask you a little nuts and bolts city government stuff, and I'm not in any specific detail, but you've got 2 openings I'm aware of. I know your police chief left for another opportunity, and so where are you guys in the process of selecting another police chief?
So we did post that position internally. That position, that posting should be coming down today, tomorrow, before Monday, I believe. I just talked to the city manager shortly. That leave of the former police chief was sudden. So, we had an interim. We had someone that was ready to step into the role. Deputy Chief Sane, he's done an excellent job as deputy chief and has done an excellent job as the interim police chief. So I think he has applied, of course, and we opened it up so that others that may want to apply could do so. And then we'll vet those applicants the way that they should.
Okay. Any specific emphasis you guys are looking for again as you look for a chief?
Say that again. Sorry.
Have you guys said any specific things you want to emphasize as you look for a new chief?
Making sure that they are heavily involved in the community.
Okay.
Very community engaged. We have a very diverse community, and it's important that they understand this community and can work with this community and understand what's going on inside the community. We have a lot of challenges. I call them opportunities. So a lot of opportunities for to better this area, and I just think someone that can adapt to or that is familiar with this community would be an excellent choice.
Good. Well, I wish you all the best in that process.
You all hear me? Okay. I think I just want to add to that is that what council did, what we had done prior to Chief Sane being put in that position and being made deputy chief, we had put in place a succession plan.
Okay.
If and when the chief of police decided that he wanted to leave at any moment's notice, we had a succession plan in place so that we can have someone step right into that position and not to be. And I must concur with what Pro Tem has said, in that Chief Sane has stepped in and done an outstanding job thus far. He's brought some good ideas that I'm going to be looking forward to him to implement. And he's connected to this community. For over 20 years, he served in the ranks of the law enforcement officers, and now, and he's done some tremendous things that I learned about after he was appointed chief over the years of being an officer. So we have someone that's connected to our community, that's right here, born and raised, and he knows the citizens, they know him, and that's vitally important to having someone that in that position to help curtail the crime issues that we have in our community.
Yeah. I like what you said, Ms. Feist said there are opportunities. So you get the opportunity to, select a new police chief to kind of, who could be there the next 10, 15 years and set the direction for law enforcement in your city. You also are in the process, and I've lost track of where you are in the process of selecting a new city attorney. Is that correct? Where is that process?
That is correct. Go ahead, Mayor.
Yes, we're actually at the stage where we've made our, well, we have five that have applied for the RFP, applied to the RFP, and we're reviewing those five, and they're all great attorneys. They all have brought some good backgrounds to the table for the city of Muskegon Heights. However, finding the right one that fits in our city and that can benefit us and have our best interests at heart 100% is vitally important. It's your attorney is involved with everything that happens in the city. And there must be many things. There must have a strong trust factor and a strong relationship with all the council people, so that we can get the information that he knows in a concise way, a way that we can understand it, and a way that we can make the best decision for the citizens of Muskegon Heights. So those are some things that I look for in who we select. But we're at the process. We got 5 that applied. Council has reviewed and made its recommendations or their favorites or their pointing system to the city manager. And now we're going to come back to the table and have a general council discussion about who can best serve the city. And then there's going to be an interview process or a presentation process from each attorney that they will have to come before council and let us know why they would be the best fit for our city, for us.
Good.
I think it's important to make sure that we understand that city attorney is an extension of us.
Absolutely.
As council and as the city. And the second thing for me is to be fully and wholly engaged.
Oh, very good. Very good.
And know the city and know its intricacies as well. There's always entities that are good at law, but it's also good to know that you have someone that is an extension of you and this community, and that's fully engaged 150%.
Very good. And people should understand, now the city attorney is not an employee at City Hall, correct?
Correct.
Mm-hmm. So while on the subject of city positions, catch me up on where we're at with the city street administrator position. I know that frequently infrastructure issues are often talked about in any community. So just I had caught an agenda item a couple of months ago, and I hadn't heard any updates since. Where are we on a city street administrator?
Yes, thank you. The city manager has been appointed by council as the point person and the city administrator for the streets until we're able to fill that position with someone that is qualified and able to do that job. However, the city manager is highly qualified with street administration experience, and he's done a fantastic job of managing through this process with the new development of Sherman Street and moving forward the streets that we're planning to repave and get done next year.
Okay. I don't want to jump. I know, Mr. Mayor, you're planning to do a State of the City speech, but again, everybody's pleased with Sherman. So I want to commend you all for that. My tie rods, thank you very much. Do we have any streets planned for 2021?
Yes, we do. We have gotten a list of all of the streets that we need to look at and make a decision on where we're going to start first based on the scoring. And for the most part, the ones that we have on slated are all scored the same. So it's no particular one. Anyone we start at first would be equally the same. So we're going to definitely be starting doing that in the spring. We had that the millage that was passed a few years back. I think we have roughly about 700 and some thousand available to do some streets, and whatever that amount can do within next year, that's what we'll be doing. And hopefully can get some more state monies to where we can do some other major streets. But those monies will be particularly for our local streets that was approved with the millage that was passed a few years back.
Now, when you say scoring, and this will hopefully educate our viewers, when you say scoring, could you explain to people how, do you all just walk out and pick the street, pick your home street, Mr. Mayor, or Mrs. Fox's home street when it's time to pave? How does that work?
I wish.
No, look, no, it's not like that. It's
Okay.
based on a PACER rating.
Okay.
And my understanding of that is not as clean as it should be, but it's based on a PACER rating of the street itself. And the city employees, they go out and rate each street based on that PACER rating. And that's for, it could get a rating of a 1 to a 10. And
Okay.
for the most part, the streets that was rated by with this PACER rating, they all got 10s, meaning
Okay.
they're in horrible shape and we need to fix them.
Yeah, and I believe if I heard it correctly in the meeting, and is sometimes people think you always take the worst streets first, and sometimes you, if I understand what you were saying to me, you take the streets that can kind of be saved first, as opposed to the ones that are in the worst shape.
Yeah, that's an approach as well you could use, but however, I don't think that's the approach we're going to take it if in this situation. We have some bad streets, and again, anywhere we start with a 10, it's okay.
It's the right street.
It's the right street, right?
We have a couple of questions
might
here.
want to add something into that. I'm not sure.
Okay, we have a couple of questions here. I'm gonna try from Maxwell McGuffey. He says, "How much did the city make from application fees yesterday?" I'm not sure what that refers to specifically.
Right. I
I
think it might be referring to the application deadline for recreational marijuana.
Oh, was that yesterday?
Yes, and to be honest, I haven't gotten that information from the city manager yet, and I'm sure that when we have a meeting, he will be updating council on what was brought in from that process. So I'm not sure what was brought in. Hopefully, a whole lot. How about that?
Right. And the second was it? So there was a deadline yesterday. Was that it?
Yes, it was. Yesterday was the deadline for all applicants that wanted to receive a license for recreational marijuana. Yesterday was the deadline, and they had a $5,000 fee that they had to pay.
Okay.
To apply.
And then the second question here, and I'm assuming they're referring to the applications and licenses. It says, "How has the city tackled the issue of social equity?"
Well, we haven't got to. Well, we haven't gotten to completely deal with it yet, but I think that with our ordinance, in our ordinance, we speak about the MyVita program, which allows for anyone requires anyone that receives a license to work with the community to doing things that are a good deed in the community.
Okay.
Quite frankly, you just can't benefit and not put back in, and that's the good thing about that aspect of the MyVita aspect of the ordinance. It requires that those that are coming here to make money, and there's going to be a lot of money made from the recreational medical marijuana, they must put back into the community. It's along with the good neighbor aspect of it. You got to do your part as being a good neighbor. You just can't open up a shop and think that you can't cut your grass. You can't keep a clean and safe environment around your building. These are things that you must do in order to receive a license, and not just receive them, but keep them. So if you get a license and stop doing those things that you are required to do, that license can be revoked.
Okay. And so is that part of the process? They have to explain what they're going to do in their application?
I'll let Mayor Pro Tem answer that. Yes.
I think it's that I'm going to add on to what the mayor was saying, but MyVita and Good Neighbor programs, I think sometimes we need to utilize that, not sometimes, but all the times we need to utilize the city manager's knowledge of those, because that's who's the administrator of the city, and he informs and enlightens the council on things like that. So when the community asks these questions in forums like this, it's a great opportunity to lean on the city manager to make sure that those questions can be answered in detail, because there's some intricacies in the MyVita and Good Neighbor programs that really need to be explained and expounded upon. And then social equity, there was an ask from one of the citizens that I know that is looking into this heavily, is to have a forum. So all of those things are explained in detail so that you get thorough knowledge of those and not secondhand knowledge. So although the mayor and I know, a lot about this, I think that the city manager has more in-depth detail and can explain those better. And I think a forum would be good and a good avenue to do that. And also, we've acquired legal representation to guide us as a city and entity in these acts as well. And it's very knowledgeable and thorough with that information. So we're being guided very carefully. We're looking at things heavily and weighing those out the way that they should be. But I think we should very heavily lean on our city manager, because that's who we trust to get these things moving forward and has that information and knowledge in totality. So great questions. I can see them coming across the screen. So great questions, but yeah, let's
How
do
many
the
applications got submitted? Again, you guys, so just yesterday, so I'm sure you haven't been updated yet and would know that. Ms. Fox, you raised another something I want to talk about a little bit. And again, my disclosure again is my background in government. But you talked about the city manager, and again, maybe I'm still amazed after all these years that when you explain the form of government that we have in our community. When you got appointed to council, folks probably were looking for your office at City Hall and didn't realize you actually still are a private citizen with a job you do every day. And so, people learn about this thing called the council manager form of government, which I'm sure you still have to explain to people when they come to City Hall to look for your office and want to know how much you get paid now that you're on City Council. But maybe Dr. kind of knew. What's our experience been like of trying to explain to people this is our form of government? They watch TV, they see New York City, they see Chicago, they see LA, and they think, big city, big council person and their staff,
I've been asked that question. I haven't been asked that question a whole lot, but I had to learn that myself.
Yeah.
Coming onto council, learning that you have a mayor, council, city manager, run city. So, you're right. You watch TV and you think, okay, well, the mayor, runs this whole thing. Where's the mayor's mansion? Where's all these things? And
where is that at, matter of fact?
you really learn how city government in this municipality is run, because not all municipalities are the same. Not all city governments are the same. So you really have to take a step back and look and see how those things work and how they operate. And it's not about, for me, it's not about control. It's about working together for the same common good. And I think that's one of the opportunities we have, is to learn who has what responsibility and what role and what we can do to mesh that together and move the city forward. So I did have to understand that myself, how this governance is run. So that was one of the, and it's something that I'm still learning, roles and responsibilities. We had MML come in and did a great presentation for us, and it helps my understanding quite a bit. So
yeah, and if I could add to that, Mr. Burns,
Yes.
The mayor and council, I think our primary role is to provide a vision and a direction in which we want to see the city go. And the city manager is to take that ball and implement it and run with it, and do the best job that he can in implementing those things that we need and want to see happen. So I think that and we are to hold him accountable, as well as others to making sure those things are implemented. And we've set forth some things and goals that we want to see happen in our community. And I think that he has started to do some of those things. And I think moving forward in 2021, we're going to see a lot of things start to happen in the city of Muskegon Heights. We're on the verge of a breakthrough, or as I said before, we're on the verge of a breakthrough or a breakdown. I prefer the breakthrough, and I know that we're right there, and I know that we have a lot of things happening with the potential in housing development, with the potential for the medical marijuana and recreational marijuana developments, some other developments that's potentially for right here in your downtown Heights, and as well just other people that want to come and invest and do things in our community. But we have to make sure our government is working properly for and be available and ready for those developments. So we have a lot of things that have happened in spite of COVID, and we have a lot of things that are on the forefront of happening in spite of COVID. So I think that for the most part, we've done a pretty good job this year. Can we improve? Absolutely. There's always room for an improvement. And that's those are some of the things that I've sat down and had a conversation with the city manager about some of the things that, you know, I initially came in as mayor and wanted to focus in on, and lo and behold, things happened. COVID came, and curveballs were thrown, and we had to adjust. So I didn't get to some of those things that I would love to put in place and see happening. But 2021, I will start putting those things in place.
Well, and
I'm working to put them in place, because nothing happens without 4 votes.
right. Mr. Mayor, you've teed me up perfectly as the political scientist in the room. I appreciate you guys getting into some of the differences between the administrative responsibility for government, which lies with the city manager, and your responsibility as the executive, kind of the leader on the council, and how you will represent the city, all of the other intergovernmental relationships and things like that. People need to understand how that works, really, to appreciate what it is the mayor does, what it is the city manager does. But you've highlighted here, you've teased a little bit your ideas coming into 2021. And one of the things that I always stress when I'm talking with people in the community is that their involvement doesn't stop with an election. You're going to have some things going forward, and having community support behind the council's vision and having the people on board can sometimes make the difference between whether or not these things happen or don't happen. What are you looking to try to, move forward in 2021, and how can the community help make these things a reality?
Oh, okay, great. Thank you for that question. Well, first and foremost, I'm looking forward for the council and myself and the city manager to move forward recreational marijuana and focusing on getting these guys up and running, because we're really behind the 8 ball on that issue. That issue has been tossed around, discussed, thrown to the wall for 4 years now. And you look around us, everybody's developing these facilities, and we're just not approving. We have not approved who we're going to have. So they're behind the 8 ball. So that's the first and foremost. The second thing is, I want to focus in on trying to make sure we get housing development in the city of Muskegon Heights. We cannot continue to sustain this community without bringing citizens back, without bringing middle income people into our community to live and work and play. Those are vitally important things that we have to do. Those are the first 2 things that I will really want to focus in on. And the other thing is focusing in on coming up with a stronger and better plan to combat any crime issues that we have in our community. These are things that have plagued us for many, many years, even though we've done some good things. And in terms of last year, the police chief and the staff, getting guns off the street and solving some of the crimes, we still have many things that needs to happen in our community, and not just in our community, in the county. We have a serious gun violence issue in this county, not just Muskegon Heights, in this county. And we must work together to try to solve those issues and bring some safety and resilience back into the community, and give the people trust in what we're doing. So those are 3 things that I will be emphasizing to council that we should work on and try and implement and get in place. First and foremost, making sure that these recreational marijuana facilities have been approved and licensed, and they can hit the street running and start to develop their facilities. And number 2, making sure and starting to do housing. Get some new housing. And we right now have just approved this lot plan. We sold 13 or maybe 15 lots to a developer, and they're ready to start developing new homes in the city of Muskegon Heights. That's vitally important. And without that new plan that we have in place, it would not have happened. And thirdly is fighting crime. We got new Chief Same, and I'm gonna put a lot of pressure on him to come up with some new ways and ideas to help combat the crime. But I think the good thing about it is he's a native. He's born and raised here right here in the city of Muskegon Heights. They know him, they trust him, they respect him, and he's going to ask that they do the same to him. But they got to communicate to, when they see something, call us. When they know something, tell us. If you're not doing those things, you're just as guilty of the crime as those that committed the crime. If you see something, let the officers know. Let the law enforcement community know. So those are 3 things that I think in 2021 we're going to hit the street with running.
Okay.
So building off that, we've got a question from the internet here from Stephen Winston. He says that Muskegon Heights is in a renaissance with a lot of talent and small business locally. What is your vision on developing that talent and small business resource within the city? And I'll open that up to both the mayor pro tem and the mayor. How can we see you as a work from a council working to develop this human capital and small business within the city? Mr. Mayor, you're muted.
I'm sorry. Can you repeat that question? I missed it.
So the idea is that Muskegon Heights, we're seeing a renaissance in terms of local talent and small business. How do we develop that? What kind of role, what kind of leadership can we see from the council developing that human talent and small business within the community?
Well, we have to work with them. We have to see what their needs are and their concerns are, and we need to find ways to bring these businesses that want to come into Muskegon Heights together. And I think an incubator type atmosphere could be just perfect for the city of Muskegon Heights. We have a lot of people with great ideas and businesses that they want to start, and providing an incubator for them to showcase their business can be exactly what we need to help jumpstart them and jumpstart our community and developing their business.
Okay.
I think the incubator idea is an excellent idea. There also always needs to be forums, business workshops. A very good friend of mine, Mrs. Kaya Thornton Hunter, has an incubator that she's starting for entrepreneurship. And I think those are great ideas to pull people in, because people are out there, but we need to, as a city, as a council, as mayor, as city manager, as pro tem, go and get the people and have them involved in the workshops, create an atmosphere where there are partnerships. So we have to create the atmosphere, right? If it's a negative atmosphere, I wouldn't come. If it's a positive, inviting atmosphere, I'm going to come. And I always say that there are opportunities, not problems. So there are many opportunities for us in the city of Muskegon Heights, like the question that was presented. It is a renaissance area. It is ready to be revitalized. It is ready to partner. It is ready to increase tax base. We're ready as a city to move forward. So I think it's creating that openness, transparency, and saying, look, we don't have all the answers. We want new business owners. We want business owners that have been here, all the ideas at the table, so that we can talk and move forward.
Yeah. And just to add to that, I didn't mention, with the My Vita dollars that will be put aside from these recreational marijuana facilities, that is spearheaded specifically for incubator type atmospheres. Okay. So when they put that money to the side, that could be used particularly for incubators to help stem and bring new businesses into our community. So we got a lot of things that we're spearheading. We're on the verge of putting forth and breaking through on. And it takes a lot of work. The council has worked very hard in going through all of the things that the city manager has put forth and trying to move our city forward. It's been a lot of work. It's been a lot of discussions, a lot of back and forth issues that we've had to deal with. But in the big scheme of things, we're on the verge of a breakthrough, and we put all of we've reviewed a lot of pieces that have not worked at City Hall and kind of corrected those things and made decisions and put ordinances back together so that we can fix a lot of things that are broken in our city. And I think we're doing that. It takes a lot of time. Nothing happens overnight. These things that we're working on have been systemic for years, many years, 20, 30, 40 years. And we're working to change them. And they don't happen, not going to happen in 8 months or a year. But I tell you what, by the time my 4 years is up, hopefully myself and Mayor Pro Tem and Council, we have done a good job for the citizens of Muskegon Heights, and then maybe Mayor Pro Tem will take over and run for mayor.
I knew you were going to do that to me.
What made you think I was going to do that?
We've got a few more questions here. I'm going to kind of throw these out. They're asking about the price range for the homes. If you guys know, do you know what's the name of the group that is doing the 13 homes?
Muskegon Heights. The name of their investment group is Muskegon Heights Investment.
Okay.
group, the LLC. And one of the individuals that's a part of that group is directly from the city of Muskegon Heights. So he is homegrown, and he moved away, and he wanted to come back and with some of his partners and develop his community.
Okay.
He wants to do some good here. And that's and the good thing about that is I know that there are a tremendous amount of more citizens directly from Muskegon Heights that have gone on in other cities, and they live in other places, and they do extremely well. And I've been asked several times since being mayor, what can I do to help? And
Yeah.
I told them I'll get back with them. I got a plan that that would allow them to help. So it's they want to help our community. They want to help their community. And when they want to, we must look at their plan. And if it's a good plan, let's do it. I mean, it's a good thing. I mean, so that's the name of the group, Muskegon Heights Investment LLC.
Okay, I think they can probably answer questions
I
about
think I heard the
prior
price.
programs. So, guys are generating a lot of questions. The few questions still about the marijuana, recreational marijuana. Probably best to contact the city manager. I'm sure you guys will be updated real soon on what it is. But if they want to know more about how the breakdown of the how the funds and the licenses and that, probably best to contact the city manager's office to get a little more information on that.
Also, give them a couple of days to figure out the numbers. I mean,
Yeah, exactly.
The deadline was yesterday. They still have some math to do.
Yeah.
Hopefully, like we said, it's a big number, but we can figure that out.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping.
Right. And I'll just kind of paraphrase one of the previous questions. Obviously, you've mentioned housing as a priority for Muskegon Heights, developing housing. And there's always a tension between looking at housing that's designed to be affordable for, maybe low-income residents in the community, and housing that's designed to kind of draw in either, people coming back into the Muskegon Heights at a different stage of success in their career or in order to build up the community. It can be difficult to balance those things. Talk a little bit about how you want to make sure you're serving the needs of all members of the community with these housing initiatives.
Wow, that's a great question. Quite honestly, we have a tremendous need in this city for new housing. I think the last new development happened in 2004, maybe in the city of Muskegon Heights. But our community we have low income. A good majority of our housing is low income, and some that are middle income. And I think it's more low income than middle. I think we need to change that dynamics because our housing home ownership in the city of Muskegon Heights has gone down since 2010. It used to be, I think, roughly 51% back then, and now it's down to 49%. That is a troubling trend. So in order to sustain our community, we must reverse that trend by developing homes, developing housing that young professionals want. And what do they want? A lot of young people want new housing. So we must come up with a plan to where we're developing housing for middle income, and we're also providing housing for low income. Right now, we have up in the Housing Commission, I think roughly around 250 families that live up in there. And I think that throughout the country, housing projects, excuse me for using that word, but I'm going to use that just to get the picture.
Housing communities
across the country have gone away from that style of housing, low income.
Mm-hmm.
And the city of Muskegon Heights has continued to do that. So we need to come up with a plan to where we can find a better way to house our low income. And I think we have a plan. We're working on a plan that can help do just that, and not just have them in one location, but have those low income individuals throughout the community, as opposed to one location, because that becomes a drain on resources. We did a hot chart study and showed where our crime areas are at, and in that chart, the hottest area was up in the Housing Commission area.
Okay.
And that's a drain on the limited resources we have for policing. So we got to find a way to develop new housing. And my vision involves possibly tearing down the housing project, and developing new homes, a mixture of 80-20, middle income, low income, and to where they're still housed, but they're housed in a community, not an area where, traditionally has not been what the traditional housing of low income people. Thank you, Council Pro Tem. So I think that if we can do that, come up with a plan to where we can tear those projects down, develop new housing, and with an 80-20 mixture, meaning 80% middle income, 20% low income, and other areas throughout the community, we have many, many homes that could be redeveloped into low income housing to divide them amongst the housings throughout the community and recreate that area. That is our most valuable property. It's just not valuable as it is. It's the entryway into our community from Hackley to Sherman Street. Imagine developing new homes up in that area and providing an 80-20 mixture of middle income and low income housing. Our community will look totally different, and we'll be on the verge of a new horizon.
Great.
I know that we're wrapping up too, and I would just want to say with those housing communities, following the ordinances, because we have to be fiscally responsible when we talk about creating new housing. So making sure that we're fiscally responsible, not, tearing down everything, but following the ordinances, because you look in other municipalities, and as I said before, the loitering and the trash and things like that, adhering to those. I think the common goal here is to make sure that we curb crime, that we use the resources that we have the right way, and we don't drain them in one area. And I think that this community will come together. I think forums are excellent so that they understand what those things look like, what the ordinances look like, and what they mean, and the why behind those, as I said before. And I think everything is just working hand in hand, creating partnerships, making sure that those partnerships are good, making sure that they're equitable, making sure that they're fair, and making sure that everything we do is consistent, fair, and it is firm. Sometimes you have to be a little more firm in the beginning because it's something that's new. People, I don't necessarily like change all the time, but this is the time that we need to do it now. Now is the time for change. And I'm just going to say, make sure that we are not stagnant. We move the city forward, we create partnerships, and make sure that we're transparent. Everything that we do, make sure that we're transparent. Come to City Hall, come to the meetings. There's Zoom now, so you can sit at home and be comfortable at home and ask questions of us. If you think that something is not going right or you have a question, ask the question. Make sure that we're held accountable. We are responsible for the city of Muskegon Heights, and that is the job of the council, the mayor, the city manager, and pro tem, to move this community forward, be responsible, and be accountable.
Very good.
And one more thing I'd like to add to that in terms of when we're speaking about the Housing Commission, and I don't think that most people know.
We are almost out of time. So
Okay. I'll be real quick. And most people don't know this, but the city of Muskegon Heights has no authority anymore over the Housing Commission. That was changed some years ago. They have a Housing Commission board that manages the day-to-day operations of that area, and we have nothing to do with it. However, the resources we are there to help solve some of the issues that they have when they have them. So, great.
No, thank you so much, both of you. Pastor Burns, do you want to take us out?
Hey, it's been good having you, Mayor Pro Tem. We thank you all so much for being with us. We'll have to have you again in the future. Professor, as always.
Always good, sir.
Greg, we may let you back into the show next week. We're going to caucus and decide. We appreciate you all. This is the 22 Political Show at 103.7 The Beat. We appreciate you guys. Stay involved.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate
Have a great day.
On behalf of everyone in our community and in healthcare, thank you for doing your part.
We appreciate your doing your part to keep us all safe.
When in public, stay 6 feet away from others.
Wash your hands often for at least 20 seconds with soap and water.
Wear a mask. Together, we are slowing the spread of this virus.
And together, we are saving lives.